Hello, Finance and Affirmations family. On this episode, I have the pleasure of speaking to attorney Anisha Murphy of Just Law LLC. The primary goal of her practice is to provide businesses with the legal tools to promote development and growth. In addition to being a Twin Cities native, she is an entrepreneur who has a passion for supporting the community. We delve into why she became an attorney and why she chooses to support small businesses. We also discuss a gap she found in legal services and how her practice is filling that gap. You're listening to Finance and Affirmations, and I am Katherine Lankford. Hello, Finance and Affirmations family. I have the pleasure of having attorney Anisha Murphy with me today. And it's just such a pleasure to have you, Anisha. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Great. So, Anisha, I'm in the Twin Cities. We're in the Twin Cities area. So tell me, I understand that you are an attorney and you're from here. So tell me a little bit about why you wanted to become an attorney.
Yes, so born and raised in Minnesota. Growing up, to be honest with you, my grandparents used to make us watch a lot of the Cosby Show. So I actually, looking at Miss Cosby,
Yeah, Claire.
wanted to Claire Huxtable. I wanted to be an attorney that after her. So I wanted to be a corporate attorney with a husband that was a physician. We had 5 kids, all of those different things. So I kind of like literally dovetailed my life around that. I knew since I was 5 years old that I want to be a corporate attorney. So I stayed in town and went to Hamline University because they had a 3-3 program, which essentially just means that after your third year of undergrad, your fourth year of undergrad, if you get into law school, could count towards a year in law school.
Oh, okay. That's
So,
great.
yep, I got an opportunity to do that program, which was amazing. Got into Hamlin Law School. And then, still on this pathway to become a corporate attorney. And then my first semester of law school, the Trayvon Martin case actually happened. And it really changed the trajectory of the work that I wanted to do. I literally remember sitting on my sister's couch, crying, watching the verdict. And I was just like, yo, I can make these corporations billions of dollars, or I can go and do something to serve my community. Now, if hindsight was 2020, I didn't know anything about like diversity and inclusion and initiatives and SEGs and SG,
Is it
whatever that.
ESG, I think? But go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
ESGs,
Mhm.
that corporations have this work that they set aside to do community-based work. I didn't know anything about that. So it changed my trajectory and I started to do policy work. So I did youth homelessness and criminal justice reform work from 2011 all the way until 2016. And I think what's unique about the times now is, back then, no one was talking about systems change. Like, I'm gonna change the system, or we're gonna do policy work, which is all systems change work. It was really the system is the system. Either you abide by it or you got out. And so I got out. I got tired of doing policy work. And I found a job at the Northside Economic Opportunity Network. And I loved working at Neon. And the reason why I went to Neon is because still trying to figure out young what I want my career to be. I had this law degree. I was in the process of studying for the bar exam. And I just come from a strong entrepreneurial family. So my mom, I like to call her the legitimate hustler. She owned her own real estate practice. She owned her own hardwood flooring company. She had real estate, all like different houses that she bought, rehabbed, and then rented them out. And so I was like, I want to work in business. My aunt owned her own daycare. My grandfather owned his own company. He was a welder. So just strong entrepreneurial family. So obviously that runs in my blood.
That's
And so working with businesses just made sense. And when I was at Neon, it really, I remember my first day when I started, they said, this is going to give you an MBA and how a real business works. And it did. It taught me the ins and outs of how to not only start a business, but grow a very successful and sustainable business. And to be honest with you, how Just Law started is I remember going to the leadership at Neon at the time, and I was like, yo, we could bring in law in-house and tie this into our programming. And I was told no. And everyone knows the greatest business is those that solve a gap in the marketplace. And so after repeatedly being told no, I was like, well, I'm gonna just start my own thing. And I remember sitting down and registering on my mom's birthday in 2018, Just Law. And at first, my business was going to be called Anisha's Law, but then I was like, no, I don't want to go into the market as my name. And
Mhm.
so myself and one of my great mentors, Stephen Abayuana, who worked at Neon, we just sat and strategized on names. And he was like, what's your middle name? I said, Justine. He was like, what about Just Law? And I was like, oh, let's do it. Just Law formed off of that. And it just made so much sense to me with the name of Just Law because it's about, it's just law. The law is as simple as you want to make it. It doesn't have to be difficult. And how we use the law to help and advance our community is really imperative and important. And so I've been running Just Law since officially launched, right? Because
Mhm.
I did my own website and I didn't have no money when I launched. I did my own website. It took me 6 months. So I didn't officially launch my business until June of 2019. So we're coming up on 5 years this June of celebrating business. My focus is primarily small business law, which encompasses nonprofits as well. So I have a handful of nonprofit clients that I work with. So everything from business law, so everything from contract drafting and review to trademark copyright to helping businesses file, so choosing the right entity for your business type, um real estate transactions and helping small businesses either purchase real estate and or negotiate leasehold terms when they go into commercial spaces is really really important. And on top of my business practice, I also do estate law. And that really is just I'm like I love that work because it ties in all my loves into one with real estate, with family, with family law, with asset protection of your business. All of these different things into one is encompassed under the estate planning work. And so I really love it.
Wow. So, Anisha, I mean, you have covered so much ground
Mhm.
in just this short period of time. So, I just want to back you up just a little bit.
Okay.
So, you said Claire Huxtable was your inspiration. So, do you have a physician husband and 5 kids? Did you fulfill that entire dream?
No, I don't. The dream was not fulfilled yet, I should say.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
So, still working on that.
Still working on that, but I do have two amazing boys that I've adopted. So almost a year
Oh,
and a half ago, maybe 2 years, I adopted my nephews. And so I am technically a mom. I call myself a mom T because I can never
yes.
replace their mother. But it's definitely a blessing to be able to grow in life with them in this season of my life. And I'm definitely grateful and thankful that I have the means to take care of them. And we don't
That
struggle. And I just give honor to God for that.
That is wonderful, and definitely give honor to God. And so you have that wonderful family that you've created. And so you said that most of your family members, you have a lot of entrepreneurs in your family. But I do always ask my guest as it relates to, because there's obviously business and things going on around you, but as it relates to you and like your personal finances when you were going to college and things of that nature, how did you manage that? Was it easy for you because you had so many mentors, in business, or did you still have struggles that you had to work through?
I had struggles. I mean, yeah, I definitely had struggles. Nothing just came easy, right? And I think that people just think, oh, it's gonna be easy, or this person, or this person knows you. Like, no, like life, whatever you want, you have to go out and get it, and nobody is just gonna hand it to you. And I think when we say struggles, it was like I've grinded. Like I remember staying with my sister, staying with family. Like I didn't come from no, I'm not a trust baby. I'm the second oldest of five, really six children. So five on my mom's side, six on my father's side. And so I didn't have anything. Like I didn't have money or resources. I paid for school on my own. I work throughout law school. I had to do what I had to do to chase my dream. And I think sometimes people forget that the struggle is only a short part of the large opportunity that comes. And if you take the time and invest in what you want to do, the reward is always that much greater. And so I knew when I was making $8 an hour in undergrad that eventually that $8 would triple itself. And I knew in law school, working, making 13, $14, having to work. Most of my peers didn't work. They just did law school full time. I didn't have the opportunity or that luxury. I had to work because if I didn't, who was going to fulfill this dream for me? And I'm grateful for that. I'm glad to have gone through that season of my life because I also know like what I don't want to go to, right? What I
Right.
don't want to go backwards to. So for me, it's just an upward momentum in my life. And I only compete with myself. Like I'm like, how can I top myself? So lately, you know, one thing I've been thinking about is do I want to go back to school to be an OBGYN?
Wow.
After suffering some health issues and having to advocate for myself and realizing so many Black women are in the same boat as me, having to suffer the same things as me. Like, so yeah, for me, everything I expect it. I feel like to answer your question, the struggle is a part of the process and whatever, and the struggle is meant to teach you something like your grit. It's meant to teach you to be humbled in this process. It's meant to teach you to always walk in integrity no matter what life throws at you. And the reward is 10 times greater.
Wow. I mean, that is just remarkable. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that it is about the process, right? And so, you didn't have things handed to you, you had to work for things. And I think many times when we have to go through those struggles, we appreciate it so much more on the other side. And so, as I think about, you said it just made sense for you to deal with small businesses. So initially, when you were at Neon, you said you saw a gap. And so, again, can you just tell us a little bit about what that gap was and then how you've been able to fill that gap in your practice?
Well, yeah, I would say a lot of times the resources that were provided from a legal standpoint didn't look like the communities that we were working with. In addition to that, as you know, when you get pro bono services, right, you get pro bono services. And sometimes the attorneys that we were working with, they were awesome, but if their capacity was strained on a project that they had to work on work, they focused on the project that they had to work on work because, well, that's their billables. They had to make billable hours per month. And so I wanted to provide affordable, accessible resources to our entrepreneurs. I also think sometimes too, pro bono services, while they're great, people start to rely on that, and that's not reality, right? And so it's a level of pro bono services, but there also needs to be some stake in the game to have some value add on both ends from both parties. So if you charge somebody not your hourly rate, but a discounted hourly rate, I feel like that has been a very success for me, and people have taken advantage of those opportunities to sit with me, to connect with me, because they realize like they have some stake in the game in this relationship as well.
Wow, I think that is a great point. Understanding what the value is and asking for it, and then definitely having people have a stake in the game. What I have learned, because this is a small business for me as well, and what I have learned is people will participate and be a part of what they have a stake in. Because I
Mhm.
know many times, I'm like, oh, they can't afford it, or they can't do this, or they can't do that. But many times, then you offer those services and people don't necessarily commit or show up. But when they
Mhm.
do have a stake in the game, it definitely makes it more real for them. And so I appreciate, you saying that, as a business owner, I'm sure that will help some other business owners who are listening. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, some of the specialties that you have. So as a small business owner, if you're just starting out, what is the need, or when do they need to get a trademark or a copyright? Where does that come in?
So it really depends, to be quite honest with you, on what it is they're trying to trademark and or get a copyright for. So a trademark is used to protect your business brand. And so I like to tell people when they're just starting out, The first step is just to search the business name to make sure that brand isn't already trademarked so that they won't get themselves into some trouble as their business is gaining some traction and they're starting to earn some real revenue. The same with the copyright. I think it depends on what you're trying to do with these two asset protections for your business, and whether or not you're trying to go like mass, like to millions of people, and you want to be the sole owner of that brand, or whether or not you want it to just be used for a small number of people and it doesn't go mass. So as I said, a trademark protects your business brand. So things like your name, your logo, your slogans, any registered colors to your business, you would get a trademark on that. A copyright is used to protect your artistic works. And so our artistic work is like a recipe, song lyrics, pictures. And a lot of times, again, this is why it depends. Some people will trade in their intellectual property rights or their asset protection rights for the marketing. We've seen that happen with things like battery, Kleenex. Those were brand names that ultimately lost their brand protection and they traded it in for the marketing aspect, because now every battery that you pick up, regardless of the brand, you're automatically going to register it to the name battery. So that went worldwide. So again, I mean, it really just depends. I'm not the type of attorney that'll force that on you. I'm the type to say, what is the business plan and strategy for your company? Where are you trying to go based off of years tiered? And here's where you should actually get a trademark or a copyright. And here's how it can add value to you, because people don't realize they'll get these things, right? They'll pay for these trademarks and copyrights, but then they don't even use it. So then it's just wasting money. So again, I think it's a level of like not just selling those services, but also educating individuals on how, like, the importance of them and then how they can actually be used to give you exclusive right over that brand or that intellectual work in commerce over another person.
That's great information. And so, can you give us just a range of what it would cost to, apply for a trademark and or copyright?
So I have packages. So yeah, my package for a trademark starts out at $2,000 and it's inclusive of a lot of stuff. And then I have a package for copyright, and my package for copyright are $500.
Okay, that's good. And so then, one of the things in the financial education space, people are getting, they got their budget together. They have their savings, they have paid off their debt, their credit is good, they're investing, and now they are earning some assets. And so they want to start talking about estate planning. So can you just tell us what estate planning looks like for an individual? And is it different, or how is it different for a business?
So it's actually not different, to be honest with you. The same process that you need to go through to start estate planning, whether you're a business or you are an individual, is the same. And it really is calculating your assets.
Join me for a future episode where I complete my conversation with attorney Anisha Murphy. We will talk about the importance of estate planning and having a trust. You don't want to miss it. You've been listening to the Finance and Affirmations podcast, hosted and produced by Katherine Lankford, with music by Broderick Williams. If you would like to learn about my other financial offerings, please visit my website at www.financeandaffirmations.com. If you have any questions or an episode topic you would like me to discuss, reach out to me at info@financeandaffirmations.com. I would love to hear from you. Finally, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Until next time, blessings.